Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The Spirit of Tasmania saga has dominated the last sitting day of State Parliament for the year, with Labor grilling the government over TT Line's spiralling debt. But the Transport Minister tried to spin the situation positively, spruiking record ticket sales during a Black Friday promotion.
When delays to the new Spirit of Tasmania project were confirmed, many tourism operators feared the worst. But results from TT Line's Black Friday sale campaign so far are set to bring them welcome relief in the lead up to next winter.
We'll be welcoming an extra 9,000 people to Tasmania as passengers.
The fact that what this has told us is that people do want to come to Tassie during that time of year is a really positive step.
It's good news for the government on an issue that's gone from bad to worse, and more problems with it were again raised in the last day of Parliament for the year.
How will TT Line sustain double the debt while remaining within its interest requirements set out by TASCOR?
We will work through the challenges, Leader of the Opposition, and there are challenges that we're working through now.
Labor highlighting figures in TT Line's annual report, which shows the GBE is racking up more debt than it might be able to manage.
Every time more information comes out, it just tells Tasmanian taxpayers they need to open their wallets again.
The government's handling of another controversial project has also been called into question. Legislation to approve the proposed Stony Precinct in Devonport passed the upper house last night with support by Labor, where it was revealed the developer has donated to Liberal Party members.
This smells really stinky when you've got the Liberals, backed by the Labor Party, ramming through a piece of legislation. Never happened before in Tasmania's history.
It was not predicated on whether or not the developer made any donations. It stood on its own merits.
Party donations are a matter for the party.
In the meantime, another contentious bill is being debated in Parliament, which the government hopes to get over the line before finishing up for the year. We're joined now by state political reporter Anthony Dodd. Now, Anthony, the University of Tasmania project is among the key reforms the Liberals will want passed by tonight.
It is, Kim. The UTAS bill would enable the university to sell off large blocks of unused land to help fund its future multi-million-dollar STEM centre at its Sandy Bay campus. And Kim, up until around a week ago, the government's legislation blocked the sale of parts of its campus until it was scrutinised in Parliament. But the Liberals have since changed it so that some blocks above Churchill Avenue can be rezoned to allow for homes to be built. Labor has long supported the uni being able to sell the land to fund its future STEM facility, who are expected to give the government the votes it needs to pass it in the lower house. But community group Save UTAS has criticised the Liberals' backflip on the changes as deceptive. The uni's future plans have been the subject of much criticism, with some residents opposing its plans to relocate some of its facilities and services into Hobart CBD, while others have welcomed it. Now, if the government's changes do clear the House of Assembly, it will still need to go through the upper house, and that won't happen until later in the year, or until early next year rather, meaning the university has got a while to wait, Kim.
No decision yet then. Thank you very much there. That was Anthony Dodd there. Well, a series of new laws aiming to crack down on racial hate crimes in Tasmania have been proposed by the government. The change would make the state's courts give more weight to the racial motivation of offences in sentencing. For Tasmania's Multicultural Council, it's welcome progress towards tackling the issue.
Every small step matters, right? With this legislation, when the communities feel that they belong, right, they will take ownership of their actions.
The new amendments will be consulted on early next year. Well, a day after Launceston's Carols by Candlelight were cancelled, some Christmas magic will see the event saved. Moving back to City Park, thanks to a groundswell of community support and outcry, but it will be a race against time to get everything ready.
It almost wouldn't be Christmas without Carols by Candlelight, and after being moved from City Park to Country Club Casino and then the Silverdome last year, yesterday came the news Launceston Carols wouldn't go ahead at all this year. Devastating for young performers, including the students of Launceston's Dance Point studio.
Very disappointing. It's usually a highlight of the end of year. It's usually what we finish with.
But December 22 will no longer be a silent night. Councillor Lindy McMahon sprung into action overnight, rallying community support, and now Carols will go ahead after all, returning to City Park.
The fact that it wasn't happening, people were really sad about that. But just to see that people actually wanted to help and make it happen, that was just really inspiring.
Council taking over organising duties from the independent committee, scraping together money to cover the cost.
Other unspent event sponsorship. So no additional funds are being thrown at it. We're just redistributing some existing funding that hasn't been spent.
The show will move to a 5 p.m. start.
It will have a little bit of that earlier start because we understand that children in particular, who we really want to be inclusive and have them home in time for bed.
But for an event that usually takes 9 months to organise, they now have 3 weeks.
I think we've pretty much got everything covered now in basically 24 hours or less.
And performers are ready if needed.
We've just had our concert so we could focus entirely on carols and get 1 or 2 routines ready to go.
Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
The Jack Jumpers have held a leadership seminar in Hobart with the day hosted by former AFL star Jack Rewalsh and included a Q&A with players.
I think it's the element of sharing, to be honest, that's really quite important and prevalent in Tasmanian society, whether that be business or personal.
A key theme that's come out of today is vulnerability and in leading that it's okay to be vulnerable.
The annual event talking all things leadership, culture and resilience. The Greens continue to call for the state government to come clean on cost blowouts for the Mcquarie Point Stadium. They say the Tasmanian Planning Commission has requested the Premier be upfront about how the Liberals intend to fund the project and how much it will cost to service debt, calling for the government to account for an additional $145 million in unfunded cost expenses.
What it demonstrates is that the Premier has been loose with the truth when it comes to the funding of this stadium. It demonstrates that we need to borrow significant amounts of money to pay for it.
The state government says it's worked through a series of assessment guidelines to ensure the project benefits Tasmania. Persistent heavy rainfall has prompted the State Emergency Service to issue a minor flood warning for the North Esk River. Locations impacted along the river range from Coralline to Mowbray. While livestock didn't seem too bothered by the rain today, those driving to work this morning were confronted with a few more challenging hazards. The cost of living is uppermost on the minds of Tasmania's young people, according to Mission Australia's latest youth survey report. It's the first time the issue has been elevated by youth in the state as the leading concern, with the environment taking a back seat.
While the environment has usually been the main source of concern amongst Tasmania's youth, it's been overtaken by cost of living pressures. More than 560 people surveyed, aged between 15 to 19, pinpointing escalating prices as the main source of worry.
Cost of living is pretty bad. Just grocery shopping, that's a big deal on it all, and just everyday expenses.
So young people are telling us it's certainly not that the other issues have decreased in importance. It's just that the cost of living is so important for them and it impacts so many parts of their lives.
Tom Cogger works in the Hope Cafe in Launceston, a magnet for young people. While he isn't focused on it, he confirms that rising costs occupy discussions.
Lots of people talking about it. It's definitely the main. You definitely can tell it's a large part of the conversation. Going around with young people and especially young people's parents as well.
Tasmania News nominated alcohol and drugs as the second most concerning issue in the state, with Mission Australia drawing a possible link with the cost of living crisis.
At times, young people will use alcohol or drugs as a coping mechanism. We know that when people are under more distress, that is a potential coping mechanism for people, and obviously not a healthy one.
Housing and homelessness still rated as an issue, also linked to cost of living, while mental health was among the top 5 concerns for young Tasmanians. Melinda Ogden, 7 Tasmania News.
Older men are the focus of the latest Tasmanian water safety campaign, overrepresented in our drowning figures. What's also being pushed is a message often repeated and one that's proven to save lives.
There's nothing like getting out on the water on a hot summer's day in Tasmania. And this silly season, our waterways are expected to be busier than ever.
We all love going out on the water. Tasmania is very busy over summer with boaters.
Marine and Safety Tasmania launching its latest summer campaign called Boatwise as we paddle towards the warmer months, hoping Tasmanians will get on board and make smart decisions when heading out on the water.
Just important for all boaters now just to take 5 minutes, take a step back, check their gear, check their life jackets before they go and enjoy summer.
This year there's a particular target, older boaters, with 61% of boat-related drownings in Tasmania in the last 12 months involving men over the age of 60.
They often boat during the week, often can't find someone to go with them if they're retired and don't have people around.
Canoeing and stand-up paddling are proving popular and now also in the sights of authorities.
Kayaks and small paddle craft are hard to see. Wear bright clothes, and at dawn and dusk and of a night time, it's law now, you have to have a light.
And life jackets remain key in the campaign despite 94% of boaters being compliant when wearing jackets. Since Tasmania became the first jurisdiction globally to introduce the compulsory wearing of life jackets in 2001, there's been a 29% decrease in drowning rates. With only 57 people having lost their lives in 44 recreational boat incidents. That's compared to the 146 lives lost before it was enforced over 2 decades ago.
Your chances of survival in a boating incident in Tasmania without a life jacket is extremely low.
Rebecca Gaidaneros, 7 Tasmania News.
Snug, born and raised cricket star Beau Webster is tonight a huge step closer to fulfilling his childhood dream. The all-rounder heading to Adelaide to join the Australian Test squad as injury hangs over Mitch Marsh. If he's called on to play, Webster will be the first Tasmanian in a decade to get his baggy green.
Fresh off a Sheffield Shield win against New South Wales, Beau Webster landing back in Tassie as the newest addition to the Australian Test squad.
Happy, very happy, proud, happy, all those words I suppose that will come along with representing your country.
Named Player of the Season last summer, the all-rounder hoping his impressive form can continue ahead of the second game against India next Friday.
I think it's just keep doing what I've been doing. It's obviously working for me at the moment in my preparations and my routine. I don't think anything will change there.
The Tigers' first Shield win yesterday, largely thanks to Webster, producing 2 critical late wickets in the final overs to avoid yet another disappointing draw.
Massive reward for this group. We know how good we are.
To be so close to potentially losing as well, the game was sort of in the balance and we just dug in and it was a pretty special win.
The hard hitter impressing national selectors during the Australia A series. Now a late inclusion into the national squad to cover for Mitch Marsh if need be, who was pulled up sore from the first Test match in Perth.
I'm certainly not going to hit a lot more balls now I've been added to the squad or do anything outrageous.
We know how hard he's worked over the last few years and he's got so much confidence just around training, around game day. He just knows his game inside and out.
Webster looking to make amends to the team's grim start to the series.
They're a pretty formidable side and I'm sure we're going to bounce back too after that first test.
The call-up fulfilling a childhood dream.
I think every cricketer would be lying if they didn't say they wanted to wear the baggy green.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, the Hurricanes' WBBL season is over. Elise Fulani's 49 not out off 42 balls, the shining light as the Canes set a 127-run target in difficult batting conditions. The Thunder eclipsing that in 19 overs to move on to the next knockout against Brisbane. It's not all bad news though. Molly Strano today named in the WBBL's Team of the Decade. After 2 weeks off for the FIBA break, the Jack Jumpers are feeling well rested and ready to go 3 in a row Saturday night in Adelaide. Desperate to shake off the hot and cold start, back-to-back wins against the Bullets and Breakers serves as a good confidence boost as they hunt for a return to last season's form.
We sort of focus more on us and how we can grow from what we've been doing at training and how we can implement that in the game.
They're currently sitting second last on the ladder.
Good evening and welcome to the weather for this Thursday, Oz Music T-shirt day. I hope you had a chance to wear your favourite Oz Music T-shirt to work today. I notice Kim Miller and Nick Kelly have not bothered to do that, but Mark, our producer, is wearing one of his 20 Delta Goodrem T-shirts, so I guess that counts. Not T-shirt weather though. Hobart 15 today, Launceston 16, Devonport 17 and Burnie 19. King Island and Smithton our top with 22 as some numbers drop to between 2 and 5 below average. Flinders Island 21, Strawn 19, most of the other centres around the 16-degree mark except Lyawini, 25 yesterday, just 9 today. Deviot measured a record 24-hour total rainfall of 130 millimetres to 9 o'clock this morning, while between 9 and 4 today, Grey and Low Head had 29 millimetres of rain as that thick layer of cloud moved across all of Tasmania except the far south. Extensive thunderstorm activity is over the far north and much of southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. The southern half of WA mostly clear. Tomorrow, a high just to our south also has a ridge extending back to Western Australia. Troughs are located to the far north and east. East to southeast winds tomorrow reaching 30 knots at times, but to 15 knots over the inland lakes. A strong wind warning, that's on between Sandy Cape and St Helens Point, and also from southeast Cape to Low Rocky Point. We're throwing in a minor flood warning too for the North Esk River. Friday for Hobart, a shower or two and 19. Possible shower for Huonville, 19 as well, and 19 for Campania. Launceston, partly cloudy and 22. 20 the top for Devonport, cloudy for Georgetown, 19 the maximum. Burnie expecting 20, a cloudy day, cloudy for Strawn as well, but fine, and 21. 20 the high for Wynyard. St Helens tomorrow expecting 17 with a shower or two, a shower for Swansea, and 18 the top for Port Arthur. On Saturday, rain increasing with some heavy falls over the north and northeast, some heavy rain over the south on Sunday with showers over the rest of the state, and on Monday a shower over the north and west, partly cloudy for the remainder. Sunny and 37 in Perth tomorrow, a late shower in Adelaide, partly cloudy, and 27 in Melbourne. Rain for Sydney, 23 there, and a shower or two in Brisbane. And currently cloudy conditions right around the state. Kim, I know you didn't get involved, but you can have a McColl Chisel one, you can have a Mental as anything, Akadaka. I've got a Luca Brasi or a Wolf Brothers one too. Actually, the Wolf Brothers are ambassadors for Oz Music T-shirt Day and that Charity Support Act. So good on you, Nick and Tom. I hope they've raised a bit of money today.
I had no idea you were so cool, Murph. That wraps up tonight's news. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone.